Hi everybody, it's Sharon from Bless the Craft Designs. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am super excited to show you how to make wax melt crumbles. These are versatile. You can use them alone in a wax melt warmer, be it tiered or electric, or you can use them in dessert candles, which is what I use them for. And if you stay tuned to the very end of this video, I'll show you some of the products that I use or that I have where I use the wax melt crumbles. So stay tuned, come back after this intro, and I'm going to show you the supplies and also how I make these wax melt crumbles. Okay, so let me go over the supplies. This is Pillar of Bliss wax. You can use soy, whatever wax you want to use. I found that this one works really well. I also have my pouring pitcher, the scale. I have a couple of different spatulas that I use, and you'll see how both of these will come in handy later on. I also have gloves because you'll need these. You'll need your candle dye. And I actually have gingerbread and brown because initially I didn't know which one I wanted to use. Sometimes that brown comes out like a dark chocolate and I just wasn't sure. So these are my go-to cookie sheets from the Dollar Tree. I have my candle fragrance as well as this burner. Because I don't use the double boil method, I would just put the pouring pitcher directly on there and I keep it on the lowest setting, which is 1. So we're going to go ahead and pour our wax inside of our container. And I had a little bit left in one bag, so I'm going to get that in there and then open up the brand new bag. And I'm going to use exactly 1 pound of wax. Now, if you're going to make a larger batch of crumble, then of course you would just increase it, but I'm just using this little measuring cup to get 1 pound of wax. And then I'm going to put it on that burner again on number 1 setting and allow it to melt. Okay, now that the wax is melted, we're going to go ahead and start adding the dye. And it's just like if you're using food color. They say that you start off with a little bit and then you can add more if you need it. So I'm going to start off with just 1 drop, and I'm going to stop in just a second and get a paper towel and also a piece of paper, and you see that now to the right, because what I found to know how it's going to look when it's dry is take a piece of paper, or in this particular instance I think the paper towel worked better, and that's what the wax will look like when it dries. So put a couple more drops of dye, give it a really good stir, and then put another drop of wax on the paper towel. And this time you'll see it's a little bit darker. It's still not quite where I want it to be. So I'll just kind of keep adding 2 to 3 drops until I get it the color that I want. Again, if you use brown, just 1 drop of brown would make this like a milk chocolate color, if not darker than that, and that's not really what I was going for here. So again, a couple more stirs, and then I'll put another drop on the paper towel, and I'm gonna give it another stir here too because there was some still on the spatula. And I'll put another drop on the paper towel, and you'll see it's a little bit darker this time. And I even off camera added a couple more drops because I wanted it just a smidgen darker than that. I'm going to check the temperature. Now if I was pouring this in a candle, it would already have to been poured. I think it's supposed to pour at 190, but since I want this to cool down anyway, I wasn't in that big of a hurry to pour it. But I did want to go ahead and add my fragrance oil at 185. And I'm just showing you the different color swatches there. That's the wax what it'll look like when it dries. And now I'm going to go ahead and add my fragrance oil. Now I always follow the manufacturer's instructions when it comes down to fragrance oil. They state to add 1 ounce of fragrance oil per pound. I had 1 pound of wax, so I'm going to add 1 ounce of fragrance oil. Now, some people will add their fragrance oil to a cup or a glass. They measure it out that way and then they pour it into the wax. But I do a pretty good job at being able to get the right amount inside of the wax first pour. So as you see, I'm measuring this directly into the wax. And I just take my time, just pour it slowly. Stir this for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then I'm going to pour it in the pans and come back. Okay, so this is about 20 minutes later, and you can see it's opaque. And I put my hand under the bottom because it's still pretty warm, but it's to excuse me, it's to the point to where I can scrape this up. And I start off with the spatula, but then I switched over to the other one for the like the cake decorating spatula, and I want to go ahead and scrape down the sides of this tray. Now, I have found that doing this while the wax is still pretty warm is easier versus you waiting until it's pretty much cooled down to try to scrape the sides. To me, it just makes a mess. So what you're going to see me do, and I'm just going to kind of let you watch, I'm doing this in real time so you can see what's going on. I'm going to scrape down the bottom. I'm going to scrape all around the sides. This is kind of a mashed potato consistency. It's still pretty warm, but go ahead and do this and you'll see me even switch back over to the pancake spatula to get the wax off the bottom of the tray, and it works really well. And while you're doing this, please remember that your wax is still cooling, okay? It's not at the point yet to where you can chop it. You just want to kind of get it up from off the bottom of the tray. So I'm not going to talk you all the way through this process. I'll kind of let you watch in real time as I'm doing it here. Okay, so as you see here, I'm getting ready to switch back over to the pancake spatula and scrape up the bottom of the pans. This is so much easier doing it with the pancake spatula at this point. And as you are scraping this wax up, it is still cooling down. Excuse me, it's not quite to the point where I can chop it up. But while it's still pretty warm, you want to try to get as much off the bottom of the pan. And I used to use like a bowl, but to me, using these cookie sheets is so much easier than trying to do it inside of a bowl. But if you prefer to do it in a bowl or a deeper pan, then you can do that. But I'm going to do it on this one to the right, and then you'll see me switch over to do the one on the left. And then I'm going to wait about 10 or 15 minutes and I'll start kind of chopping this up. And I'm actually going to put on my gloves because I'll have to start picking up some of the wax. And as you see, there's also some wax paper underneath these trays. Please do that because it does get messy when you start really chopping it up. So I'm going to put my gloves on in just a minute as soon as I scrape the rest of this up. Again, wait about 15 minutes or so and you can really start to chop it up now. It's starting to cool off a bit more. Okay, so as I waited about 15 minutes and I really started chopping this up, you can chop up these pieces to the size that you want. If you're going to sell these as crumbles to go in a warmer, I would probably leave the pieces a little bit larger, but I'm using these for my candles. So I actually want both small and large pieces. When I sell these on my site, the description says fine and coarse textures. So I have, you know, some small pieces as well as some larger ones. This is a big one here, too big for, what I'm going to use it for. So I'm going to chop that up, and then you'll see me work the tray to the right in just a minute. And I kind of go back and forth. Again, it's cooling down as you're chopping it up. So I'll go to the tray to the right and start working those pieces. And I'm going to get it to the consistency that I want. And I will be right back. You'll see that in just a moment. Okay, as you see here, we're all done. I'm gonna let these sit out on the tray covered for about 24 hours to make sure they're completely cooled down, and then I'll put them in Ziploc bags and I'll let them cure for about a week before I use them on my candles. If you stay tuned to the end, I'm gonna show you some of the products that I use these for. Please make sure you follow me on my social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And I appreciate you all watching, and let me show you what some of the products that I have. Okay, this is my latest one for the summer. It's going to be Strawberry Crunch Parfait. I have a scoopable wax melt in milk and cookies. I also have Cafe Mocha, which smells like coffee. And then finally, I have Georgia Peach. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to follow me on my social media platforms and visit my Etsy shop, Kamari Candle Company. As always, be blessed.